The Games of Deception, how the Nazis hijacked the 1936 Olympics, and how it's happening now. There's something chilling about watching history unfold in slow motion, when tyranny doesn't come marching in with tanks, but gliding in with torches, flags, and a stadium full of cheers. It was the summer of 1936. The world turns its eyes towards Berlin, the host of the Olympic Games. Germany was reborn, at least that's how it looked. The streets were clean, flags flew high, the Olympic torch, reintroduced for the first time in modern times, burning bright, was an ancient symbol, but beneath all the gold medals and choreographed grandeur was a lie. Germany had been awarded the Olympic Games in 1931, 2 years before Hitler seized power. Once in control, the Nazi regime saw an opportunity not just to host the Olympics, but to weaponize it. Adolf Hitler, once skeptical of the Games, was convinced by his propaganda chief, Joseph Goebbels. Together, they realized the Olympics could be the ultimate showcase, not of sport, but of Nazi ideology. To the outside world, Berlin seemed modern, peaceful, even welcoming, but this was a carefully crafted illusion. In the months leading up to the game, anti Semitic signs were removed from public areas, prosecution of the Jews was temporarily softened, even the notorious racist Nazi propaganda, Der Schmischer, was taken off the streets. Everything was rehearsed, not just by the athletes, but by the government. They would walk into a stage play, and they didn't know it. To seal this illusion, the Nazis enlisted filmmaker Lene Ronvisital, a rising star in cinematic propaganda. Her task? Document the games, not just the sporting events, but as a myth. Her film Olympiad, released 2 years later, and was a technical masterpiece. Slow motion, overhead shots, dramatic lighting. It glorified the athletic form, but bathed German strength in classic beauty. But it did something more dangerous. It linked the modern German athlete to the ideal Aryan race. This film drew visual parallels to ancient Greek gods, subtly implying the lineage of racial superiority. It was seductive, powerful propaganda, disguised as art. While Hitler staged his illusions, millions were excluded from the story. Jewish athletes were removed from German teams. A token gesture, two half Jewish women were allowed to compete. It was made to avoid international boycotts, that was the only reason. But this was all just a smokescreen. Yet again, within this facade, a crack formed. A 22-year-old black American athlete named Jesse Owens would shatter that illusion. Owens won 4 gold medals in the 100 meter, the 200 meter, the long jump, and the 4x100 relay. This humiliated Hitler's dreams of Aryan dominance. It was supposed to showcase of white supremacy instead of the face of the games becoming a black athlete from Alabama. The world cheered for Jesse, but the irony was dark. Hitler refused to shake Owens' hands. Back home in the US, Franklin Delano Roosevelt never invited Owens to the White House. In Germany, racism was law. In America, racism was custom. Owens later said, "Hitler never stumped me. It was my own president who didn't shake my hand." When the games ended, the facade was discarded. The anti Semitic law returned, prosecution escapaded everywhere. 3 years later, Germany invaded Poland. The world plunged into wars. Historians now look back at the 1939 Olympics as one of the most dangerous performances in history, not because of what happened on the track, but what didn't happen in response. The world saw the signs, and everybody ignored them. The Olympics were meant to bring nations together, but in Berlin, they were used to hide the truth, to charm the world into silencing millions. Now, where do we see this today? Well, just recently, President Trump of the Trump regime announced that he would be leading the chairman of the White House task force overseeing the 2028 Olympics. This is nearly 100 years later. Now, in LA, Trump frames the Olympics as a triumphant display of American strength, but he's pulling in the military and immigration policy into his narrative. Critics warn that the Games might be a pretext for militarization and exclusionary politics, pointing out appointments like Stephen Miller and Kristi Noem. Trump's executive order, though, banning transgender women from participating in female sports, is pressuring the IOC to change the eligibility rules that they have been using for a long time. Many foresee this as an attempt to frame the Games around diversity, identity politics rather than athletic excellence, just like the Nazis did. Today, we are seeing some pushback on these games, observers like Trump's Olympics to the dictator games, raising concerns about the world's perception and moral legitimacy. So, that is what the comparison I want to draw with you guys today is. If you like this, follow the podcast. I'm going to go further into the filmmaking aspect that happened during these games, but that's the comparison I want to make. Follow, thank you, and that is episode 2 of the Continuum.